Gentlemen, welcome to the week one recap of VFL. It's our 41st season, 1983. My dad started this league and he would not let me join it until I was old enough to pay for half of my losses. So here we are, 41 years later, and it's still going strong. Welcome to the newbies. Welcome to your first week. And to Sam, welcome to the beatdown, the Thunderdome. 42-point loss. Sam, I expected better of you. I'm very disappointed, Sam. I Dan was talking you up during the draft. Oh, I'm not much competition, but Sam's the smart one. Blah 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 blah. Disappointed, man. 42-point loss. Part of it might be our scoring, which I will go over in a little bit of detail here in a second. But this was a crazy week filled with close games and big blowouts. And in the game of the week, America's game of the week, Cuba's game of the week, it was proven that Jamie will be getting Bill's inheritance. He is the better son, uh, winning by 29 points. Willie, the veteran, the three-time VFL champion, loses to his brother-in-law. Eek, man, that's not that can't feel good. That can't feel good at all. But congratulations, Jamie. One of the newbies to get a win. Dan, the other newbie to get a win, beating Habanos, beating the old man, the old guard by 8.5 points, 8.7 points. Well done, Dan. But the games that were close, holy cow. Bloody Shark squeaking out a victory over Big Dumb Ox by 0.08 points. Both of them, neither one of them deserving a victory in this week. Just in a race to the bottom. His poor performance by both teams. But Bloody Shark wins. In another race for the bottom, Thunderblender, our reigning champion, beating out the Walking Dead by 0.42. Very typical of the Walking Dead to lose by less than a point. I think last year he had the lowest, the smallest margin of defeat throughout the season. If he's going to lose, he's barely going to lose. So well done to everyone on their first victories. Everyone who lost, step it up, man. Expect more of you. Jeez. Um, a word on our scoring. So you'll notice that scoring is a little bit different in our league. And the big reason we do that is because we want to make VFL ownership as close in as we possibly can to real ownership and team management in the NFL. So what we do is we score accordingly to all three facets, or all three phases of the game. It's not just a bunch of offensive players. When you draft a defense, you're drafting 11 players, and your scoring should reflect the fact that you're drafting 11 players. So you'll see that defensive scoring is a bit more generous than most leagues that you've been a part of, and that's why. And the same goes with special teams, kickers. Kickers get bonus points based on the distance of the field goals. In addition to that, we also give points to returners based on yardage, based on touchdowns. So you'll see those points reflected as well, which is why when you look at the waiver wire, you'll see names like Raheem Blackshear. And you're like, who the hell is this guy? Well, he returned a kick for a touchdown and had a lot of return yards. And so he did really well. So it's very valuable if you can find those players like Rashid Shaheed, who are the wide receiver two, wide receiver three, Kyron Williams returning punts and is the lead back. And they also get those return yards. So very helpful to kind of get those kinds of players. So that's just a word on the scoring. Sam found out the hard way what that looks like this week as the Saints defense freaking dominated Carolina. And Rashid Shaheed got a lot of return yards in addition to a really long touchdown pass. Very nice, very beneficial. I'll take it. Last word is on our finances. So our finances are a little bit different. some of you new guys were asking, well, how much is the payout at the end? And I can't tell you for certain how much money that's going to be. Some years it's 500, some years it's over 1,000. And the reason is because the finances grow throughout the season. What I mean by that. So we used to charge based on players going on and coming off of IR. We used to charge for trades for each player that was traded. We don't do that anymore, but we still have fees for losses. That's really where the finances kind of fluctuate. Every loss is worth $3 into the main pot. Plus, you have to pay your opponent 10 cents per point that you lose by. Now, we don't do those transactions every single week. Instead, I keep track of all the finances every week. And at the end of the season, we tally it all up and then we square up. So, what that means is some teams won't place first, second, or third, which is our payouts. But because of their margin of victory and their being so large throughout the season and their margin of defeat being so narrow throughout the season, they'll end up being positive. They'll end up being like being owed money at the end of the season. It's not uncommon. I know that Zach has done it before. I know John Wilson's done it before. I know Chet Casher has done it before. So it's not like uncommon for that to happen. But the payout, if for those of you keeping track at home, is 61% of the pot for first place, a quarter of the pot for second place, 9% of the pot for third place, which kind of comes out to roughly your entry fee. And then the very final week of the season, when all of the playoff teams have already clinched are sitting their main starters, we do an all-star game, and it's DraftKings style. So salary cap. In fact, all I do is I just print out the DraftKings roster. I send it over to you guys in a spreadsheet, and you create your own salary cap based lineup for that week. The winner of that gets 5%, but then that's also how the draft order for next season is determined. It's not determined based on random draw, and it's not determined based on the standings of the previous season. It's determined based on that All-Star game. So first, second, third, fourth will determine what pick you get, and you get to choose your pick. So if you get fifth in All-Star week, and you don't want pick five, maybe you want to pick on the turn, you can choose, oh, I'm going to pick at 11 or 12 next season, right? So you get to choose where in the draft order you want to be. And then we also do offer trades for future draft picks. So if you want to this season trade for, include a certain draft pick next season, you can do that. Also, you can trade pick orders and all that kind of stuff. So nothing's off the table. The last thing I will say is with our finances, we offer a FAB system for waivers, free agent acquisition budget. And every team starts out with $100 in FAB. Now, if you spend that $100 partway through the season, you can buy more FAB money. And it's just a dollar per dollar ratio. So you spend all your $100, you want to add 50 more dollars, you just pay into the pot 50 more bucks and you get 50 FAB dollars. It's a great way for us to just increase the pot. I will say that some people were like, when we first did this, they thought, well, this just means like the rich are going to get all the players. And you could look at it that way, but we all know that the waiver system, like you really don't know if spending 50 bucks on Jerome Ford is going to be valuable or not. In fact, it was valuable for 2 weeks and then not very valuable the rest of them. We do have some teams that take advantage of this, Habanos being probably the biggest culprit. This is the Habanos rule, our FAB rule, and it's a way for us to steal some of Willie and Jamie's inheritance just by letting Bill put more and more money into the pot. So that's one way for you guys to add more FAB dollars. But speaking of FAB, the FAB waiver processes at midnight on Wednesday. So get your picks in right now before midnight on Wednesday. I don't know what time zone that is. Just assume that it's Eastern time zone. And so you can get those picks done now. But on game days, for players that are playing that day, it's a first come, first served basis. So if you're waiting to see the injury report and Christian McCaffrey is on it and you need to replace him with someone, you can immediately go in, drop a player, and pick up someone who's available for that game. You don't have to wait for the budget. Also, we allow $0 bids. So if you're like, I don't know, I kind of want this person, I kind of don't. If you're trying to stream a tight end or a defense, you can put a $0 bid in as well. So keep that in mind. Well, welcome to VFL, guys. 41st season of VFL. We're happy to have you. And to all of our veterans, welcome back. And to everyone who lost, I expect better of you next week, except if you're playing me, in which case, just go on vacation. See you guys.